Nathan Fleming, welcome to the Anatomy and Clay Learning System podcast.
Thank you. Nice to have you.
Well, it's great to see you and connect with you. Here we are in early August, and obviously from the video, we can see you're at school, at work. One of those teachers who spends a fair amount of summer time getting ready for the next school year, I take it.
Yeah, the improvements happen in the summertime, just like with coaching.
There you go. That's great. Can you, for our listeners, just tell us where the name of your school and where you're located?
My school is in southern central Missouri. It's West Plains High School, and we're kind of a feeder school. We're surrounded by several smaller K-12s and several fairly small several feeder K-8s, and then a couple K through 12s. And I used to teach at some of those smaller schools around here.
So is there a big city nearby? What's close?
Springfield, Missouri is 2 hours away.
Okay. And when you say South Central, is that Ozark country by any chance? Or?
Yes, it is. I have a house in the sticks.
All right, very good. And how long have you been teaching there?
I started in 2010.
Are you from that area in general?
Yes. Yeah.
And you taught in other schools around in the region?
Yeah. There was I started at one of the poorest schools in the state of Missouri. And then when my student loans came to repayment, I had to move and went to another fairly small school. I stayed there for 8 years, and then I finally came here.
Wow. And always science?
Yes, I've always been science. And at those first 2 schools, I was the only science teacher. That's how it goes in some of the small K-12s. You're the science department. So you get to teach subject.
I'm sorry, say that again?
You get to teach every subject.
Yeah. And across many grade levels. So you were responsible for developing curriculum across a wide variety of.
Yeah, my first place, I had an 8th grade class, which was unexpected, but then 9 through 12.
Wow. Were you a science kid as well, even growing up?
I've always liked learning and figuring things out. I had aspirations of becoming an engineer or an architect. So that's just my hobby. My hobby's residential design and construction techniques. And I built my own house, so I kind of satisfied that craving. But going to school, I started tutoring people in math, first just for a favor, and then people noticed and they started asking, and then pretty soon it was a side gig to make money. And one of my tutors had said, "Hey, you're pretty good at this. You got to do that for a living." And so I switched to math education, and I got up to like Calc 2 and differential equations. And I mean, I like numbers, but there were so few applications to it. And then I switched to science, which has endless applications.
And when was that exactly? Was that in college or after college when that?
So I switched to that. So I switched to science education, probably my sophomore year of college.
Gotcha. And was there a particular area within science that appealed to you?
Not really. I mean, I was a biology major, but my favorite subject has changed over the years. I really like conceptual physics, a lot of demos, a lot of hands-on things. But then, as you get better at chemistry, it makes you better at biology. And then I have a anatomy and physiology course that I've taught for 20 years that I've developed lots of stories and insight with. That's fun.
Great. Wow. Can you give us an idea today of what your, how big is your science department, and give us an idea of some of the courses you teach?
Yeah. So I think we have like 400 per class, maybe like 1,200, 1,100 students for the high school. As I said, we struggle finding staff as many schools are doing right now. So our advanced curriculum is difficult to meet those needs. But in 2016, I started teaching Project Lead the Way, which is the project-based science courses. And I thought I was a pretty good instructor. until I taught one of these courses, and then it was a good awakening for me. And so now,
Wow.
this is students will get customized lab coats, and then these chevrons, these are all the courses that I run. So medical detectives, and then freshman through senior, the high school PLTW courses. And then this is the one where we use those the mannequins a lot, the human body system.
Could you, yeah, that's great visual. Could you hang on to that for a second? Just, you know, for the podcast folks, he's holding up a coat with these chevrons on the, I can't tell if it's on the sleeve.
Yeah, so
or on the, just on the.
If students get a 88% at least in 3 semesters of Project Lead the Way biomedical courses, they earn a customized lab coat.
Okay,
gotcha. PLTW, it'll have their name, our sponsor, which is Ozarks Healthcare, our local hospital. They'll have the school logo on the back in the center. And then we developed just some like bragging rights, right? So we made chevrons with little, each course has a different color. And so they get a chevron for each course they have taken. And last year was the first year we had a student take all 5.
Wow.
So she got 5 chevrons.
And
then on the other sleeve, we have badges that they can get if they earn college credit in those courses.
Wow. How
so we have a relationship with Missouri S&T, and so they can earn college credit even as a freshman.
That is just so snazzy. Could you run down each of those courses again also?
Yeah, sure. So the teaser course is medical detectives. And that's mostly experience-based, not terribly rigorous. We want to get them interested in the biomedical field. And then the remaining courses are high school courses, Principles of Biomedical Science. It's biology, chemistry-based, human body systems, anatomy-based, and then medical interventions, which is our most lab-intensive biochemistry-based course. And then our capstone course, which we offered for the first time last year, is biomedical innovations, in which they have an independent project.
Nice. Very cool. Wow. As he hangs up the coat again. So what was it about the Project Lead the Way courses? Was it the just that the standards were a little bit higher? Was it just a richer curriculum? What was it about that approach that upped your game?
Well, okay, I have lots of stories to tell, but like one in particular. So this was probably my 4th year of running the Project Lead the Way program. And the whole time, as I'm adding courses, I'm dropping lecture-based courses. And I've always kept my college level anatomy and physiology course. And I had a couple students in there who were going to be nurses, and they were pretty much sleeping in class. I'm like, hey, this is your thing. Like, of all the classes, this is yours, and you're not involved. And the following day, I used a hands-on activity from my Project Lead the Way course, and those 2 students just came alive, and they were all up in it, and they're like, let's do this tomorrow. And I was like, oh, okay, it wasn't the students, and it's usually not the students, it's what they're surrounded with. So basically, it's what you think a science class should be. No textbook, no lecture. We do experiments all the time. You get to be creative. You work with others. It's set to real life skill sets. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. And you use Project Lead the Way across as much as possible in terms of incorporating what courses you can into your whole array of offerings?
I currently only have 1 lecture-based course, and project-based learning doesn't replace lecture-based because you can't cover as much content. But I would wager there's a price to pay for that, right? It's like it's what students remember years later that matters, not the grade on an exam. So
yeah. Do you get a fair number of students who are in your classes who are clearly bound for a medical or health career track?
Yes, I do. So what I'm working on now is getting students to go all the way through the program. So it's become more popular at the school. I have competitive enrollment for some of the for the earlier courses. And like for this year, for my sophomore course, 18 of them came from the freshman course. And we limit the courses to 22 students. So if I can keep those groups going through, I can produce a pretty awesome student by the end.
Do you have good career opportunities nearby in the healthcare field, and do the students kind of sense that as a good career option?
We have a hospital in town, but it is a small town, and so and then we have a small university in town that can get some nurses as a nursing program, but students would have to go away and then come back. And
Gotcha.
yeah, I can't speak to where they end up at.
Yeah.
But yeah, not too many opportunities here in town.
Yep. Can you remember, or do you recall when you first came across Anatomy in Clay?
Say that again?
Do you remember when you first came across Anatomy in Clay?
Yeah, it was at my human body systems class, human body systems training course, which is the second year course in biomedical PLTW. And it was a 2-week intensive workshop. We go through all the labs and we put organs on these mannequins. And I was really surprised how much I did not know. Because at that point, I've been teaching anatomy for almost 20 years. And you get a little ego and a little confident in what you know. And it was really fun to figure out all the things I didn't know. For
instance, do you remember any particular structure?
Yeah, you get to so they start off with the hand holding, right? And they say make a ball of clay size of a pea, and do all those things. But then they'll let you say, okay, make the digestive system. So like, okay, what's the volume of the stomach for a mannequin that's so tall? And I don't know, what's the volume of the stomach on a normal human? And so you do some math, and then you try and get that right. And then what is right behind the stomach? What's to the left of it? How does it fit on the midline of the body? And we figured, the stomach tilts like this, and there's reasons for that. And just all of the things you never even consider, you have to think about when building these organs. And most of our guts were like sticking way out because it made them too large.
Yeah.
They're just so many things. The position, the volume, the exact placement. Lots of things to figure out.
Did you think it would be a hit with your students right away? Were you concerned about introducing it into your classroom, or what was your thought about bringing it back to school?
Initially, my concerns were more of like the whole course, right? Because it has all these labs, and the mannequins are one of them. And then trying to guide students through something that I've only done one time. That was a concern. But looking back, the way I run a lot of the courses is they're not teacher-led. So you're free to be creative and figure things out on your own. And so what I do now is I'll come along and students defend their mannequin. They talk about the placement, the size, and what it does. And if they're not at the task, if they don't have it accurate enough, I'll give them some pointers and then come back later.
Gotcha. How long have you been using them now?
Since 2017.
Very good. And do you get a kind of variety of reactions from your students about engaging, or is this now just part of, the students that are coming to your class have seen them around the school, they probably talk about them, or there's a reputation in the school that this is a fun thing to do?
Getting any class in a high school advertised is difficult. So I will go to scheduling night. Whenever I go to scheduling nights or parent night, there's that mannequin up there like, hey, look at this, what we can do. And This is what they use in for trained doctors. So it's a good kind of recruitment tool. And I have the one that I keep assembled and displayed is the current best one. So if there's a mannequin that beats that one, then it gets stripped and the new one replaced. So I got it here on my desk. So this is this year's
Oh, wow.
this year's winner.
That is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Wow. Look at the detail. My gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. And that represents how many weeks of work?
I don't know. We
Yeah.
work on it all year. Oh, she did really good on the head. Let me kind of zoom that in there. All the detail.
That is phenomenal. Wow. Amazing. As he goes to put it back, that's great. Wow.
And I like how they don't just slap some nerves on there or some arteries. They research the pathways and try and mimic them. And like somebody learned this year that the artery pathways are pretty consistent, but the venous pathways vary quite a bit. And it's just stuff like that that students will never ask or research unless they're trying to build it in 3 dimensions.
Yeah. And your sense of what they're learning and grasping with the ANATOMYINCLAY system versus prior to, in terms of just their overall knowledge and
that's a difficult question to answer because you see the students while they're in your class or while they're in that system, and the test is really talking to them years later and what they remember. And I think that's where these mannequins really help out, is they provide pretty amazing experiences where students they struggle, and then they overcome that struggle, and then they own that thing they figured out, and they remember that for quite a while. I had a senior who graduated recently, and I think she built her mannequin 2 years ago, maybe 3, something like that. Anyway, the thing she had figured out with them was they were trying to figure out where the belly button was on the mannequin. And then like, well, what's the belly button connected to? And they they're traced to the ligament between the liver. And then, so anyway, granted, I made a tweet about something about that. And then she replied to me directly about the specific name of that thing that she found out.
so clearly the work had created something that was going to be a permanent piece of knowledge for her. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's that discovery process. It's that not knowing, and then instead of me saying, "Oh, it's this," like you would in a lecture-based course, they are curious and they chase it down, and then now it's theirs.
Wow, nice. And clearly the hands-on, you are a believer in hands-on learning as well.
Yeah, our lecture-based pedagogy is shown to be like bottom of the barrel as far as long-term outcomes.
Yeah. And for the most part, your students engage with the ANATOMYINCLAY system without any hesitation, or are there some who maybe see that model that you just showed us with all the perfect parts and structures, and they think, well, I'm not going to be that kind of artistic level sculptor?
Right. So there's not a judgment. It's not I don't judge in that respect.
Yeah.
But I judge based on what they know and what they can talk about. And if there's flaws in their model, they can say, "Oh, this is why it's not that way."
Right. Very good. So what would you say right now is the key overall, especially in sounds to me like you're in a somewhat rural setting, right?
Yes.
And you previously taught in a very poor school. Is your school now high needs or not?
Yes, we are. We still have a high percentage.
Yeah.
High students.
So overall, what is the key, do you think, today? What do we need in public education to build stronger science students and produce stronger students who come out of high school and headed off wherever they're headed with a better grasp of science?
So at the smaller schools I was at, the students like to say, "Oh, I'm from this town," meaning I'm not very good because I'm from this small town. But students are students wherever they're at. If they're in a big city, a rural area, high school students are the same. Of course, you have different levels of parental support, but students are kind of the same wherever you're at. So in my opinion, we lack qualified staff. Getting someone who is highly motivated, well-educated, and willing to put in the work and build those student relationships that's what we're missing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There is a reason for teacher training, and it takes a lot of training to become skilled at leading a group of students through curriculum. There's just no doubt about it. It's not something you can pick up in a few weeks at some quick, program that's going to give you a certificate. It's an art. It takes a long time to develop.
Yeah, so a lot of high school teachers are focused on content and what they know and wanting to, I know content and I share you content. But what we're figuring out is that one of the keys is strong student relationships. And if you treat students with respect and they know that you're in it for them, you can get a lot done.
Very good. Well, Nathan Fleming, thank you for this rundown and for giving us a little window into your teaching and learning world. We really appreciate it. And thanks for your time today.
Yeah, well, thanks for making these products. They really have improved my ability to spark students' curiosity.
Fantastic. Thanks, Nathan.
Thank you.